Afrostain FarmTech has been putting together systems that you're going to ever need to invest in agriculture with confidence. Number 1, the land use and management planning saves you money and gives you more confidence. Number 2, the farm management gives you more time, safety, efficiency, and the professional touch of agribusiness.
Today we are here at Red Dane Farm, also known as Barabara, where we are going to be looking at land use planning and management. For this and more, today we are going to be talking to farm experts. We have given us the liberty of being here at Red Dane Farm. We are going to be looking at the various systems put in place to ensure that agriculture remains a formidable business for our farming community. And to discuss this and more, I am joined by farm experts. Wencelas Mufukuza, he is with Afrostain. Wencelas, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I'm actually happy to be with you today.
Yeah. If you look at agriculture, for our Zimbabwean farmers to take it as a formidable business, land use planning becomes pertinent. And it is very important that our farmers engage with farm experts so that they get the return per dollar invested. As we kickstart our episode, Wencelas, what is land use planning and management? What does it represent?
Thank you so much. So land use plan is actually a conscious selection of a given course of action to determine the best value of land, so that if you have got a single hectare, what is the best use of it?
Okay.
So that you can, instead of wasting years of time doing a lot of trial and errors, you are just focusing on the best and focusing on that, making sure that you are going to get the best returns now and forever.
I would also want our audience there at home to be acquainted with when did it start? When was it established? When did it get into agriculture? Oh,
thank you so much. In fact, it's actually not about when did it start. It's actually about how did it get started.
Yes.
So if you look at history, you remember that some yesteryears where there was these settlers, when they came, they were all the inhabitants of fertile lands, they were pushed to the reserves, and Zimbabwe has actually said, okay, let's demarcate Zimbabwe into different boundaries. Let's have region 1 where there were best soils, best climatic conditions. In fact, those were the they are still the high productive zones.
Yes.
So we then go to the central watershed where we've got our Harare, we've got Mazoe and so forth, where we do mixed farming. Then we go to the later parts of the likes of those low-lying regions where they've got moderate, in fact, low of rainfall and so on. So how then did all these things started is when farmers who were then in those regions started to realize that we can actually do much more than just results from the climatic as well as the soil factors. And we then come in focusing on what should we do as the farm experts, making sure that each hectare is producing the best.
Wencelas, I also want us to talk about what motivated or what inspired land use planning, especially coming to our farming regions here in Zimbabwe.
Okay, you realize that farming nowadays, I'm actually happy that a lot of individuals are now taking agriculture as a business.
Yes.
But to do that, we need to make sure that we are focusing on high-earning businesses, locally as well as regionally. So to do that, we are focusing on what is actually going to be beneficial to Zimbabwe. You actually realize that Zimbabwe has got a lot of blueprints, the agricultural growth and recovery plan, all those, what is supposed to be done now, the NDS1, what is supposed to be done now in 2025. But our farmers now have to also be aided. What are we supposed to focus on? How should I plan my land so that whatever that I'm going to focus on is going to give me more returns? Okay. So to do that, we have to look at any given land and focus on what should I do that is going to transform my income now and giving more returns, not only for me, but for the next generations. That is why we also notice that this farm where we are actually is actually 43, it's actually more than 45 years in terms of age.
Okay.
But as you are seeing, it's getting better with age like wine. The reason why it is doing so is because of systems that were put in place. It's not like rocket science, but the reason what they have put in place, that is why you are seeing right now, if they were to give you a button right now, you actually run the show as expected.
Okay.
So what we then come up with the land use planning is to make sure that other farmers can also copy, model, or just deploy what they have seen here. So this is the reason why we have to intensify the need for land use planning. It's not about just saying, okay, where should I put this structure? It's actually none of that business. Okay. It's about what should I focus on? How is it going to add value to the land? Because the land is not for us. We borrow us from the future generations. So we have to do the best we can with any resource that we have.
Okay, now Wencelas, you highlighted two pertinent issues that I got wind of. You spoke of borrowing for future generations. You have to start farming with future generations in mind. Exactly. That is also the incorporating of various systems to ensure that we are adding value to the land that we sell us. I would also want us to talk about your movement through the geographical spheres of our country. I understand that you interact with farmers on a daily basis, and you are often in Manika land, Mashona land, West, you're always moving around.
Exactly.
From your point of view and your perspective, how has been the Zimbabwean farmer when it comes to embracing land use planning and management? How have they been in terms of absorbing or taking it up? Your sentiments on that?
I'm actually happy with that. In fact, as I was looking also to see are all those corporate farmers or other individual farmers focused enough when it comes to what they are investing. Indeed, those farmers that have got a futuristic approach to land, they are taking it effectively.
Okay.
In fact, they are becoming as focused like a cockroach. You know what a cockroach does?
Yes.
It even hides behind the plate of food, just waiting for the opportunity.
Yes.
So any farmer who gets the opportunity of meeting us, I'm actually sure that they are happy.
Okay.
So it's only the few who are still supposed to be transformed from the subsistence into commercial agriculture. In fact, if you look clearly, you notice that a lot of farmers, in fact, a lot of individuals are turning their subsistence homes, the communal areas, into business hubs of agriculture. What do we see there in Manikaland? You notice that farmers are actually they are removing some of the forest, the plantations, those existing trees, and putting macadamia. Why? Because there is a booming demand for macadamia. So when someone is motivated with money, that person is going very far. Yes. Unlike someone who is just doing farming for the sake of farming, you actually realize someone is telling that I cannot do agriculture now. I cannot do, I not to break out. But what are you getting after 7 months? It's just 2,500 if you get 10 tons per hectare.
Okay.
But if you are someone who is a bit smarter, you notice that I can actually do cabbages, which is just 3 months, and do more than 15,000. So yes. It's about how we are doing that. I understand that farmers are actually rational individuals. They know where to prioritize. So with this information, they could take advantage of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wencelas. You spoke of farming with smart ideas.
Exactly.
Looking into the future and also being able to analyze the economic trends that are here in Zimbabwe as we pave way towards achieving Vision 2030. You also gave us a detailed presentation on the history of our land use planning and management. On that note, viewers, we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Don't go anywhere.
Afrostain Farmtech has been putting together systems that you're going to ever need to invest in agriculture with confidence. Number 1, the land use and management planning saves you money and gives you more confidence. Number 2, the farm management gives you more time, safety, efficiency, and the professional touch of agribusiness. Find us on all our social media platforms or visit our website afrostain.co.zw or call us on 0712 689 214. Afrostain, let's talk and give your business the value it deserves.
The sweet aroma of molasses hits straight to my nostrils. That is being fed to our cattle here at Red Den Farm. At this point in time, we are here in a star grass field, which is used as feed for dairy cattle. And behind me, as you can see, we have the dairy cattle and various breeds there, ranging from the Red Dane, Holstein, and Red Dane Aisha. At this point in time, I've taken the liberty of inviting Mr. Onward Marumura. Onward, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wadza, for inviting me to the show.
Yes. Earlier on, before we went to the break, I was with Wencelas Nyamfukuza. He was giving us a brief synopsis, a brief history on how land use planning and management started and how it works. Yeah. At this point in time, I want us to talk of the value of land use planning and management for the sake of our audience there at home. I understand that there are some who might be interested and want to venture in such enterprises. Your take on that?
Okay, thank you so much. Land use planning is very important to our farmers,
yes,
both who are into business already or those who want to venture into agribusiness. Why? Because it's a report that gives you a conscious decision in terms of how you are going to utilize the land. For instance, want to realize the potential of the land.
Yes.
How are we going to do that? Through the process that we are talking about: land assessment, capability assessment, carrying capacity assessment, vegetation assessment, and all that. So the idea is to utilize the land sustainably. So how are we going to do that? You have to understand how I'm going to use the land. Number one, you know the carrying capacity of your farm or of your paddocks. So we are going to come up with a demarcation which gives us the potential of the land in terms of carrying capacity. For instance, when we are in this paddock which is demarcated, let's say 5 hectares, you now know that I have to put 10 animals in this star grass, and you know how are you going to improve the potential of that star grass in terms of nutrition management, watering, and all that.
Okay, thank you so much. Onward.
Okay.
Moving right along, can you cite some of the advantages, the pros, the merits that come with a farmer embracing or adopting land use planning, or inviting farm experts who can come and enlighten him in terms of his land use plan and management, the advantages that come with that?
Most importantly, it's integration and compatibility. Remember, I want to do integrated farming because that is which produce more revenue in terms of streams.
Okay.
Want to create a system where we are getting income daily, monthly, weekly, or yearly. So we have to create integration. For instance, we want to know the compatibility in terms of your land. Where are you going to position your dairy parlor? Where are you going to position your piggery in terms of compatibility? Then you come up with other supporting structures, bulk sheds, storing sheds. So you have to know where are you going to position them. And this is done through our land use planning and management, because we are going to assess where is it best to assign that. We're going to do a land service analysis where we are going to see this aspect where we're receiving more of day length, so we're going to put more of fruit trees on that particular area.
Okay.
Then this area is suitable for homestead because it's non-arable land. You can't utilize it for any crop production. Either you can use it for storage facilities, you can use it for maybe apiary where you are setting your hives, then you start to harvest honey.
Okay.
Because you want to create revenue extremes on the farm where you're getting money from honeybees, getting money from dairy, beef, obviously from crop production. And also we are going to cite other areas where we are going to put a horticulture so that we get more revenue in the short space of time.
Okay, thank you so much, Onward. That was very detailed. You are talking of increasing revenue and having several revenue streams at that same farm. It doesn't have to do with having a huge farm or having 200 hectares of land. You can still do that even on 10 hectares or 5 hectares, like you have just highlighted. Now, Onward, I want you to talk to our farming community here in Zimbabwe, those who did not get into land use planning and management. I understand that some didn't get into it because they didn't have the knowledge. They didn't even know that it existed in the first place.
Definitely.
Your word of advice, your sentiments, what would you like to say or communicate to them pertaining to land use management and planning?
Okay, what is very important, you understand the basics of land use plan. What are you going to get after the land use planning and management? The first thing we are going to get is potential. You now know that we have 5 hectares. You can't do animal ranching. You can now do pen fattening, okay, because it is facilitated to small piece of land where you are getting more revenue through pen fattening, because with 1 hectare you can actually keep more than 400 animals. So that's small piece of land. Then we can do other intensive projects. We are talking of high value projects. For instance, we can put greenhouse, you can do fish, you can now do flowers or in other open field horticulture, so that you utilize a small piece of land. And that is only done when you know the capacity of the land. Because if I have 5 acres, I can't do say 10 enterprises. I can focus on 1 or 2, yes, because there's no favor that you are putting to your land when you are doing more than 10 enterprises on a small piece of land. You just have to focus on 2 or 3 because you have to get more from that small piece of land. For instance, the greenhouse, it has a high return on investment for that small piece of land.
Okay, thank you so much, Onward. You keep educating us and you are giving a detailed presentation on what to do with the land that we were given by our government as we pave way towards achieving Vision 2030 as a country. Now, as we close this segment, Onward, I was talking to one of my clients, those that I do consultancy for in the diaspora.
Okay.
Initially, when I spoke to him, he was like, you know what, Wadzanai, I would want to start with 1,000 pigs.
Okay.
So I just went quiet.
Okay.
I didn't discourage him. I didn't say you are crazy or what you're saying is not feasible. I just had to act like the bigger person because I knew it wasn't feasible in agriculture for a person to start with 1,000 pigs, regardless of your investment. We are talking of the inclusion of human resources, your financial muscle. Are you fit enough to feed those 1,000 pigs? Where am I going with this? I'm going to where you would want to advise our farming community in terms of looking at my Chimuti and seeing that she's doing pigs, or I'm also going to do pigs. Looking at my Ningi, she's doing goats, or I'm also going to get into goats because she's making money out of goats, or she has produced tobacco. Your word of advice to our farming community in terms of just copying, looking at someone with tobacco and saying, you know what, I'm going to do tobacco. Are you going to make the same profit that she's going to be making? So your word of advice in terms of copying, aligning it to land use, which is specific for your own needs. Your word of advice, your sentiments in closing.
Okay, we are saying we are doing land use planning so that you understand the potential of your land. And you have to know what amount of revenue do you need. Probably you need $1 million per year. So you might not need 1,000 pigs to start with.
Yes.
Probably your revenue that you want is fitting within 400 pigs. So you have to determine and design what you call a sow unit so that you know how many pigs are you going to produce. For instance, 1,000 pigs might be feasible if it is number of winners that you want to sow per year. But if you are talking of number of sow unit per year, it might not be possible. We are saying 45 sow unit, it produces more than 1,000 pigs, say in 3 months. So it's actually not feasible. So the number one thing that you have to do, there's no need for copying and paste what someone is doing. But you have to do what is exactly the land can actually do. Probably the revenue that you are targeting can be actually obtained using a dairy project or a fish project. Then you focus on that. Otherwise, you don't want to start with the amount. We need to know how much do we need to get and how much is ready to be invested in that particular project.
Okay, thank you so much, Onward. There you heard it, viewers. This was Onward Marumura. He is a farm expert. He was enlightening us on the value and the pros and cons, or the advantages and the merits that come with adapting land planning, land use planning and management. On that note, we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned.
Afrostain Farmtech has been putting together systems that you're going to ever need to invest in agriculture with confidence. Number 1, the land use and management planning saves you money and gives you more confidence. Number 2, the farm management gives you more time, safety, efficiency, and the professional touch of agribusiness. Find us on all our social media platforms or visit our website afrostain.co.zw or call us on 0712 689 214. Afrostain. Let's talk and give your business the value it deserves.
Welcome back, viewers. We are in the third and final segment of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. We are going to be looking at the process of land use planning and management. When's the last? We are in the third and final segment of your program. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I want us to talk about the process. What does it entail, the various stages in land use planning and management?
That's perfect. So depending on who is actually doing the land use and management planning, but for us, what we focus on mainly is to, number 1, to understand the value of the land. What does the land look like? Which is why we actually use the drones to do the area of view and the survey of the land. So the first thing that you do is the land capability analysis, which basically understands the capacity of the land. Is it a land suitable for crop production or for livestock production? Okay. If it is for livestock production, we have to look at which kind of livestock should we focus on. Is it dairy, beef, poultry, or any other that is suitable for that? The second thing is we understand that nothing optimizes production than the soil. So the soil plays a pivotal role. So the second thing that we look at is the soil type. We do both analysis there, the physical analysis as well as the chemical analysis. So on the physical analysis, we do the soil profiling. Right now, it's now different from the ordinary ways which we used to do. I understand that there are people who might be still stuck in the ordinary ways. Right now, we understand that there is the geographic information system. We've got the drone surveying, which uses sort of the photogrammetry. And of course, there is this thing which was used to do the vegetation and soil coding. Okay. Right now, with the drones, with a multispectral drone, we are able to understand the vegetation types and able to link what is the relationship between what is on the ground and what is on the underground. Okay. So that's number 2. Number 3, we also understand that if there's no water, there's no business. So we have to understand, okay, using the crop water requirement, which kind of crops should I do and in what quantities? You wouldn't want a situation where you put 10 hectares of tobacco or 10 hectares of potato, and 1 month down the line, you no longer have sufficient water. Okay. So that's the number 1 of the things. So the process is a bit lengthy, but let me just pick the major ones. The other part which you look at mostly is the investment appraisal. You understand that nowadays we are living in the information age where information is almost everywhere. Someone can just enter into the internet and say which are the trending crops, then 99% of the farmers will be focused on that crop.
Okay.
But then boom, the market is flooding, or it's just a hit at that moment. But when someone is investing into a business where you actually understand, you rank those businesses based on the payback period, number one, based on the internal rate of return, based on the average rate of return, looking at how much do you want to get per year.
Okay.
So if you are now focused on, I need to get 500,000 per year, what project should I focus on, or do you have that capacity to do that? And those are just a part of these things. So we have got other key things like the farm resource inventory. Does your farm have the sufficient resources? Let's look at this one, which is the red den. You can actually look at the structures that were put. These structures are not a dollar thing. They are actually multi-million dollar structures.
Okay.
So for them to put, you need to know if I am to do dairy up to that level, do I have the sufficient resources, both physically, human resource? You understand that your human resource is actually part of the strongest asset you can have.
Yes.
So do you have the capacity to pay those individuals, or to pay those people who are able to, the veterinary practitioners who are able to do the best with this one?
Okay.
So it's a lengthy process. Looking also at the issue of the ability to scale that business. Does your land allow you to scale that business up to what level? So if you have got maybe 5 hectares, I would allow you to, what if you can focus on poultry? You can actually do probably 200,000 broilers on a 5 hectare than someone with 100 hectares focusing on the same business. It's now about comparative advantage. I'm sure you understand about absolute advantage versus comparative advantage in economics.
Yes.
But it also applies when you are investing in agribusiness. So our process now, it has got the agronomist who understand the land. There's got an economist who is supposed to focus on the market linkages. Then there's also another. So the GIS technicians, the guys from, it's a lot of things that we need to focus on. Okay. So it's not just a simple process. But this one can actually help you. What do we mainly focus on?
Okay, now Wencelas, as we round off our program, you spoke of financial muscle, be a farmer being fit enough to invest in this kind of operations.
Exactly.
How is it like for a Zimbabwean farmer? I understand that here and there we might encounter challenges. How is it going to be like for a Zimbabwean farmer? Your sentiments on that. Is it worth it for a farmer to part with these few $1,000s to invest in land use planning and management? Your word of advice to our farming community.
The first thing is, when you have got insufficient funds to invest in agriculture, I would advise you to probably get a job so that you have sufficient funds, or do crowdfunding so that as a group you are able to invest in agriculture. But if you would want to invest in agriculture, for sure, definitely you need to invest in land use and management planning. Otherwise, you will spend your entire life trying this and that, but ultimately mastering nothing. And you know the pain and confusion that comes along. It's something that we cannot, things that it loses you sleep at night. You wouldn't want to lose that amount of money out of ignorance.
Thank you so much, Wencelas. This is Wencelas here, a farm expert, telling us that you wouldn't want to lose vast amounts of money due to ignorance. Thank you for watching.
On 0712 689 214. Afrostain. Let's talk and give your business the value it deserves.